Oh, first off, happy 420, right? So, one of the kids I grew up with, his birthday's today too. That was always a big deal. Eric's birthday's on 420. We're gonna get stoned as a motherfucker! Woo! So all my stoner friends out there, happy 420. Now, it's a nice day too, man. For April, it's like 72 degrees, sunny, a couple wispy clouds up there, but it's a nice day. So what are we gonna do? Oh, we're gonna backtrack a little bit, from the last video where I talked about, some of the small steps or big steps that led to my trouble. But we're gonna backtrack a little bit to first couple times I got arrested, just because I was thinking about it. It's fucking weird, man. So let's see. When I was like 20. Yeah, I was around 20. It was before I ever even thought about, doing Oxycontin or cocaine or any of that. Even though, coke wasn't really my issue. It was the oxys once I got on those. But any hoot, growing up, like my dad, he was the tough love guy, right? Like, if you ever get in trouble or ever get arrested, don't call me to bail you out, right? Which, to his word, he fucking stuck to that shit, let me tell you. And my mom was tough too, like, because I did tell a story on here one time my mom beat my ass, like, really bad. Like, my mom was a tough woman, right? But she was lenient on a lot of shit too. She fucking, my mom was cool. And, like any mom, they love their sons, and she was there no matter what I did wrong, no matter what my brother did wrong, she was always there. If we went to jail, and she would do whatever she could to get us out if she could, and if she couldn't, she would be there. Every time that they would let her visit, she was there. She fucking always had money on my books, like, and it didn't matter what I did wrong, she was on my side. Even if I was wrong, she was on my side, as long as I didn't lie to her. Know what I mean? So, anyway, I was fishing with my cousin and my buddy JR and his cousin, and we were at this spot down on these rocks in this place called Avon in the town of Avon, by this power plant, and the water that comes out of there is like really warm. And so I don't know, there's always fish there, like, and they're big fish. And we were catching these giant carp. They were huge, big carp. And you throw your line in, the water's moving so fast. It was about the time your line made it straight down along the side of the pier, you had a fish. Like, it was just one after another. It was crazy. So we used to go out there fishing all the time until they made it to where you couldn't anymore. Like, eventually they put up a fence, and we would, like, dig a hole under the fence and go. And then they started putting up signs, and we started getting in trouble. So, but anyway, that came years later. But while we were down there, the game warden came down, and he talked to all of us, checked everybody's fishing license, and then he skedaddles. Well, apparently, he was, like, watching us through his binoculars, like, from somewhere up on top, because it was a good walk to get to the spot. But from up, like, by the parking lot, he was, like, watching us. So when we leave, like, an hour later and go up there, he tells my brother, who was, like, just turned 16, I want to say 17. Yeah, he was, like, 16 or 17. He was like, yeah, that was a nice big fish you caught there for, somebody who wasn't fishing, because you don't have a license. My brother was like, oh, well, yeah. So he got a ticket for fishing without a license. And then He's like, yeah, you talking to me and Jeremiah. He's like, you guys each had a pop. Where's your pop? These guys brought their pops back. I was like, man, mine fell down in the rocks. I couldn't get it. He's like, well, I'm gonna give you a ticket for littering. It's like a $150 ticket, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I was like, no, I'll go back and get my shit. And he was like, no, it's getting dark. It's dangerous. Just take the ticket. He's like, you live in the county, so you can pay it by this day. Well, because Jeremiah didn't live in the county, because he lived in like Medina County and we were in Lorain County, he had to pay it right then and there. I was like, wow, that's crazy. He's like, you pay it now or I take you to jail. And I was like, that's fucking nuts, man. So he had to come up with the money and pay the ticket. And I was like, man, fuck this park narc, right? I think I went home and threw the ticket away. Never thought of it again, right? So fast forward like a month or so, maybe 6 weeks later, summertime, I'm driving around with my little brother in my car, and I get pulled over in a little podunk town of Grafton with my little brother. And the Grafton Police Department guy comes up, he's talking to me, I give him my ID. He's like, yeah, you don't have a license. And I was like, excuse me? Like, yeah, dude. He's like, no, your license is suspended. We ran it twice. I was like, oh, that's fucked up, right? They take me out of my car, search me, they find a slapjack underneath my seat, right? Like, the cop, he's like, what was this for? I was like, oh, I used it to tap my radio in, because I had like an aftermarket CD player. I was like, I used it to tap it in place, man, because I couldn't get it to fit. I was like, I just threw it under the seat, forgot about it. He was like, no, this is used for cracking skulls. And I was like, what? No. Wow, who would use something like that for that? That's messed up, man. So then they got me for driving under suspension and carrying a concealed weapon, which I don't see that, but man, when it pops up on your record, that doesn't look good, I'll tell you that. So, but anyway, so they take me to jail. Right? It was like essentially like a bench seat with the eye hook in the wall that they handcuffed me to. But they towed my car. Well, at the time, my cousin, his wife worked for the police department in Grafton, and they were at my Uncle Mike's house in Grafton. And they came across her radio that she had to keep with her all the time. And they're like, oh, fuck, Robbie got in trouble. So I'm sitting in the jail. I haven't called anybody. And they're like, yeah, somebody's here to pay your bail. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, he said he's your uncle? And I was like, my uncle? And they're like, yeah, your Uncle Mike? I was like, oh, no shit. I was like, oh, that's crazy. So I just sat there. They finished processing me. Then they let me go. And I walked up front. I was like, Uncle Mike, how'd you know I was here? He's like, oh, Mike and Danielle are at the house. He tells me the story. I was like, oh, man, thank you. He's like, you owe me $200. I was like, all right, I'll pay you tomorrow, right? I'm like, yeah, thank you. He gives me a ride home. So then I got to call somebody to get a ride to work the next day. So the very next day is like a Monday, I want to say. I worked like a 12-hour day. I got off work at I think I worked like 5:30 to 5:30 or 5:30 to 6. It was like a long fucking day. I remember that. And this is when I was running the meat market, which is where I was at when all my troubles began with the oxys. So I get home, and I'm like, man, I'm fucking hungry. So I make dinner, right? So I make a big pot of spaghetti. I think I used elbow noodles or something, like whatever we had. It was just me and my dad, my little brother at the time living at home. And my buddy, I had a couple friends at the house, because there was always people at my house back then. And there's a knock at the door. My buddy Roger opens the door, and I just got done putting food on my plate. And he says, Rob, man, the cops are at your door. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they're looking for you. I was like, no way. So I walk over, I open the door, I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, we're looking for, Robert Miller. And I was like, which one? I was like, there's two of us that live here, because it was me and my dad's a senior. And he's like, the one born in 1980, and I was like, yeah, it's me. And he's like, yeah, we got a warrant for your arrest. I was like, for what? Like, I ain't done nothing wrong. And he like looks at his thing, and he's like, for littering? And I was like, what? He's like, hold on, let me make sure this is right. And when I'm standing there, and he's like calling it in, like, yeah, is this right? Like, I'm here to pick this guy up for littering? Like, I look over, and my neighbor is coming across the front yard. My neighbor John, who's about a year older than me, he's coming across this front yard into my yard with another cop and he's handcuffed. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, he's like, yeah, man, that's what it is. He's like, I gotta take you in. I was like, dude, I was just about to eat dinner. I just got off work. He was like, well, throw some shoes on, man. Let's go. I was like, dude, right? And he was nice enough. He handcuffed me up front. He puts me in the car, and then they put my neighbor in the car, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? He was like, bro, I was at home, cops pulled in, they pulled into my driveway looking for you. He's like, so I walked up there like, yeah, man, you're at the wrong place, dumbass. He lives next door, you know? And John was he was something else. He was a knucklehead. He was like, they fucking run my name. I got a warrant for littering. And I started laughing. I was like, that's what they picked me up on. He was like, no shit. He's like, I went down fishing at the power plant like a couple months ago with JR and them, and they gave me a littering ticket, and I never paid that shit. And I was like, that's where I got my ticket. He was like, for real? I was like, yeah, I was with JR and them. He was like, no shit. I was like, I swear to God. Right? So then they take us to the county jail, right? And I'm like, what's our bond? Like, how do I got work in the morning. How do I get out of this? And the sheriff, like, he was like, I don't know. They'll tell you when you get there. I was like, all right. You know, so they take us in, and we're down in booking, and they bring this dude in from prison, like Pickaway County Prison. And he's like coming back to face like other charges that he got indicted on since he's been in prison, I guess. And he's like asking what we're there for. And I told him, and he was like, wait, both of you? So he goes over and he like hits the button in the holding cell. And the sheriff's like, yeah, what do you want? He's like, hey man, I need a new cell. You guys got me in here with these serial litterers, man. And the cops were getting mad, and we were cracking jokes in there. Well, finally I hit the button. I'm like, hey man, how much longer are we going to be here? Like, when am I going to know my bond so I can make some phone calls? He said, we have to wait for the game warden that issued your guys' ticket to come here and tell us what he wants your bond to be. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this guy's got that much power? They're like, oh yeah. Like, what the fuck? Right? So then, he gets there, right? And like we watch him walk in, and John hits the button. He's like, hey man, can I talk to the game warden? And the sheriff's like, why, you want to report a poacher? And he's like, no man, I just want to get out of here. And he's like yelling through the thing, and they're like yelling back at him. And I was like, this is not gonna be good. He sets our bond at like $200. John's like, yeah, nobody's coming to get me. I was like, what? He's like, nobody's gonna post that shit. I was like, this is more than my ticket was. My ticket was like $125 or $150. He's like, yeah, man, nobody's gonna pay that for me. I was like, oh man, I wonder if this is the first time I'd ever been to county jail, ever. Like, I've never, like the day before I got arrested was the first time I'd ever been really in the back of a police car handcuffed. Like, I was having a bad week. So then, I call my dad, and he answers the phone. And I'm like, hey, this is what it's going to cost. And he's like, no. I was like, what? I'm like, come on, man, I got to go work tomorrow. He's like, no. He's like, whose fault is it that you're there? And I was like, the game warden's. And he hung up on me. So I called him back. I was like, come on, Pops. He was like, no, you should have paid your ticket. Like, you'll get out after you go to court. I was like, I was like, I'll find somebody to let me out. He's like, no, you won't. And then he hung up on me, right? So John used the phone to call his mom to tell his mom where he was at. And you got to call collect back then, you know? So I call my aunt's house, and my aunt Tammy and my uncle Jeff live like 10 minutes from my dad, like right around the corner. By the time John talked to his mom for like 2 whole minutes, like it was a quick phone call. Then I call my Aunt Tammy. By the time my Aunt Tammy answers the phone, my dad is already over there. And I'm talking to my aunt, and she's arguing with my dad, like, we can't leave him there. And he's like, bullshit. I'm like, how did he get there so fast? She's like, oh, honey, he knew you were calling me. I was like, this is fucking crazy. She was like, and then she was real quiet. She was like, call your Uncle Mike. And I was like, Uncle Mike bailed me out yesterday. I still owe him $200 for that. She was like, call him anyway. I was like, all right. Because that's really, my Aunt Tammy is my dad's sister. My Uncle Mike was her ex-husband. But I mean, from the time I was born, he was my Uncle Mike until they got divorced when I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, you know? So he's since left us, you know, but he's still my Uncle Mike. But anyway, so I call my Uncle Mike, and he answers the phone. It's a collect call, or my cousin Matt answered, and I was like, Matt, dude, can you tell your dad I got arrested again? I need to get out of here. I'm in county jail. And he was like, what, dude? I thought you got arrested yesterday. I was like, I did, bro. I'm like, I got arrested again for a littering ticket. And I can hear him and our buddy Carl laughing. I'm like, don't laugh at me, man. I'm like in county jail. Like, get me the fuck out of here. Right? So I guess they went and talked to him. He got on the phone. He was like, how much is it? And I was like, it's another $200. He's like, all right, I'll send Matt and Carl to get you. And I was like, all right, cool. So then they had to go to the county jail, which was only like a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive from where they live. Post my bail, and then wait for them to process me out. They arrested me probably around like 7 o'clock at night. I didn't get out till like 3 in the morning. Like, it took forever. And then as soon as I got home, I went to sleep. I got up, went into work like 3 hours late. Like, and somehow by the time I got there, everybody had already known. Because I just started dating this girl, Jolene, that worked there. And somebody called her because she was supposed to come to my house. And somebody called her and was like, dude, don't go over there. Robbie just went to jail. Like, he's not there. And she was like, oh, shit. Then I had to sell my car. Well, first, I couldn't get my car out of impound because my license was suspended because of the littering ticket until I went to court for the littering ticket. Then they put the wrong court date in Grafton for my driving under suspension and the impounding of my car on my ticket. The Grafton chief of police, my buddy Alan, worked at this place called ProTech Automotive in Grafton. They used to get their cars serviced there. The chief went there and was telling Alan, like, yeah, your buddy Rob skipped court. We're about to issue a warrant for his arrest. You better call somebody. So Alan calls me at work at the meat market and tells me this. And I was like, no, dude, my court date is next week. He was like, no, man, they only have court once a month from what he was saying. I was like, all right, I got to call somebody. So I went and found my ticket that happened to be in my buddy's car. I don't even know why it was in there. Then I called up there, told them, like, yeah, they're like, okay. So they went and looked, they're like, you're right. They did write the wrong date on your ticket. I was like, thank you. I'm like, so how do I get my car back? She's like, call me back in an hour, I'll talk to the magistrate. So then they talk to the magistrate. The magistrate's like, basically, you're going to have to sell your car, put it in somebody else's name, and have that person come up and get it for me to release it. Because I cannot release it to you without having a license. And I was like, this is fucked up. So I had to sell my car to my buddy Alan, who happened, the one that called me, so I could get them to release my car. So I basically sold him my car to pay back my uncle, pay my court fines, and pay to get my car out of impound. I love that car. It was a 1988 Chevy Cavalier Z24. So I spent a lot of money on the system that was in that car. Yeah, I was a 19, 20-year-old kid, man. I was... No. My kids were born then, so I was like 20. Oh, man. It was a good time. But yeah, that's the story of the first time I went to jail. 2 days in a row. But after that, shit gets worse, you know. The jail stints, the trouble. It all gets bigger from here. So, yeah. That's a little 420 story time, right? Why not? I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back soon. You guys take care. Oh, shit, I'm going the wrong way. I gotta go to the shed. So, yeah, you guys take care. Take it easy. I'll be back soon, and we'll continue, you know, the rest of whatever the fuck this is. So, yeah, let me turn you this way. All right. You see all those rags? This is a box of rags right here. I bought 30 packages for work. They're $22 a piece. Oh, I got the receipt right here. It's an expensive job I do. Gotta go to Costco to get these damn rags. So $21.99 a piece. So there's $659.70, and then I got a pack of batteries for the flashlights. There's $724.93 all together, and all I got was rags. Go figure. That's some expensive shit. All right, guys. I'm really out of here this time, so just making this turn. All right, you guys be good. I'll be back. I hope you guys have a nice, good 420, and you all stay out of trouble. Learn from my mistakes. Don't make your own.